Right, so I've made it to Oban. It's been a pretty hard day actually today, but I'm in Oban for one very special reason, and I'll give you a quick clue if you can read that. Yeah, I'm going on another adventure pretty much straight away. I'm gonna leave that to be a bit of a surprise until later in the year, but I will be bringing out a film, of course. So yeah, thought I'd do that as a little prelude to this epic one that I'm about to do, which I'm really excited about. You might be able to guess. If you can, stick it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's multiple options it could be, but I've been looking forward to doing this one for a very long time.
Thank you very much for watching my film. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel as well if you haven't already. And any questions or comments, stick them in the comments box. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about me, I will always put a link to my website in the description as well, so you can see what gear I use and a bit more about me. I also have a new feature that I'm trialing on the website on the contact page. Basically, you can leave me a voicemail. If you want to ask any bikepacking, cycling, camping questions, anything at all basically, just leave your name on there and you can leave me a personal voicemail, and I will hopefully be answering your question in an upcoming Q&A video series that I'm planning on doing, hopefully monthly, depending on how many questions I get. So if you'd like to hear your voice and question answered on one of my future videos, just head over to the contact page on my website and leave a voicemail, and you'll maybe hear that at some point in the future. So like I mentioned in the film, this is kind of a prelude to the epic adventure that I'm doing. And like I mentioned, if you have any guesses where that could be, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But it was an absolutely epic adventure, and that will be coming out later in the year. If you're watching this a little bit later on, I will leave a link to that in the comments. But if not, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. So I got the sleeper train up to Fort William. As you know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I really love the sleeper train. It's a great escape from London or anywhere in the country basically where it stops, getting out to the Highlands of Scotland. I haven't had the best experience on Caledonian Sleepers. I've only ever used the trains, apart from this adventure, in the winter. And the first time I used it, it all went badly wrong, but it was an absolutely brilliant adventure. If you want to see that, make sure you click the link up there on that card and it will take you to that video now. I vowed never to just get a seat on a Caledonian Sleeper. I find them incredibly uncomfortable, and I definitely didn't enjoy it when I went on the seats. So I've always said I will always pay for a room now, and that's what I did. I paid for the cheapest room that I could. I can't remember what it's called. I think it was called a club room, but it was very small, but it had bunk beds, which I had all to myself, so it was perfect for what I needed. I actually slept amazingly, which is the first time I've slept on a sleeper train. The only issue I had with going to Fort William, and someone mentioned to me this before actually in another video, if you're going to Fort William, you have to, if you're taking your bike, get up in the middle of the night and move it. Because the way that the train's structured is it's basically in three parts. It leaves London in three parts, and as it gets up into Scotland it splits. Some bits go to Aberdeen, some bits carry on to Inverness, and I'm not 100% sure how it works, but basically the bit that has the bikes in is in the middle. And if you're not going to where that destination is, you actually have to get up and move it to the new section which the train joins onto wherever you're going. So I ended up having to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning in Edinburgh to move to the other carriage and get my bike and wheel it in. So although I slept, I did have to get up ridiculously early. As a positive note though, I actually had an hour delay nearly on the train, so I got quite a lot of money back, so it ended up being a lot cheaper than I initially envisioned. Anyway, apart from that, it was very smooth sailing. I got into Fort William nice and early and I started the route. I've been up to Fort William loads of times, both when I did the Land's End John O'Groats video, which you might have seen, and when I went with my dad on the first bikepacking film I made on this channel. The only difference when I did those trips is that I cycled on the main road. I can't remember what A road it was now, it might be the A82, but it was during COVID when I did that, and it was definitely less busy. And I just thought, I don't want to do that again, the way that it's got so busy now again with tourists. So I tested out something that I've never done before. I got a passenger ferry from Fort William over to the other side of the loch. Now, that's where you're supposed to go if you're following the National Cycle Network, and it's completely different. It's like night and day. It's beautiful, smooth, quiet B roads, hardly any traffic at all. And if you're going to do this route, I would absolutely 100% recommend going down that route. It cost me £3 to go on the boat, or £3.50, and by the time I got there, I was just so happy, so much better than being on the main road with all the caravans. So obviously when you get to the bottom of the loch, you do have to cross back again if you're going the route that I went. So it is 2 ferries, but even so, definitely well worth going on that. When I crossed over the loch, I was back on the main road for just a tiny bit. I ended up going to Ballachulish, which is where the big iron bridge was, which is quite spectacular. And every other time I've cycled there, I've carried on up the main road towards Glencoe, which is beautiful in itself. But this time I was going to Oban. So you take a slight right and it's basically smooth tarmac ex-railway all the way to Oban, and it runs alongside the coast. It really is a spectacular route, something to do definitely if you haven't done that before. Just another way of escaping the busy roads, because of course you can cycle to Oban on the road, but it's much nicer on that traffic-free cycle path. It's definitely suitable for road bikes as well, which is a question I get asked quite a lot. It's complete tarmac, so there's no gravel or anything like that, so it is really, really easy, so you can absolutely do it on a road bike as well. So overall, it was quite an easy route to follow, really. It's well signposted, but I will, of course, leave my route in the description, so if you'd like to look at that and download that for free, you can. When I made it to Oban, it was my plan to just stay at a B&B and then get the ferry over the following morning to where I was going. I nearly gave it away there. I ended up staying at a guest house that I found quite cheap on booking.com. It was pretty basic, but she did offer me breakfast. I did have a garage to store my bike as well. I'll leave a link to that in the description if you would like to check that out for yourself. The owner was actually from Yorkshire, which made things quite interesting because that's where I'm from. So we had a good chat about that. But overall, it was a lovely, lovely route. It's definitely doable in one day like I did. I didn't bike pack necessarily. It was more of a cycle touring trip. But the adventure that's going to follow is going to be much longer and much more epic. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and stay tuned for the epic adventure coming up later in the year.